Hello everyone. I would like to talk about today how we need more smart people to share. And what that really means is that not sharing in regards to abundance. I mean, money is a factor, of course, that could help, especially countries that are not as developed as other countries. But I want you to see that a lot of what becomes your flow of smart decisions is with your awareness and knowing of something which is able, because it has seen its own prosperity through the process. When you go in a process knowing that it's completely practical and you could do what you are, the feeling you have of how you can perform, and you go in that performance and you simply come out and you're just so excited by whatever, and you kind of see that your knowing and your sense of certainty of your knowing really established the outcome you wanted. It wasn't with the structure, it was the knowing you had that created performance. So we see a lot of smart people having gone through experiences where they have had an experience of what it is they need to be more aware of to be more abundant. So now a lot of this is ideas and sharing of information. So you want to, as a human being, not just change the world and go sit on your couch. You actually want to be a person who at all times, every moment, you're emanating your greatest self. That's it. So think of what is the greatest thing I can do, and that's it. You're moving towards your greatest self. Because in doing our actions, we are expanding our experience by getting more detailed information from life. And these details, it's as if you see, like, there's one way you can get information from life by just, looking at something. And there's another way of, getting experience from life that is involvement. So we see a lot of people have a very good ideas, very bright ideas on who they need to be, but they are doing nothing. They're not getting involved with bringing their vision, closer to their face. You need to let yourself naturally perceive. After you have observed, naturally you will be inspired to act. In other words, regardless, if I just put you in a condition, you will become aware of the condition and you will be inspired to act, right? So now we see a lot of lack of human communication is that there isn't a lot of natural allowance to see what is really here. When you give yourself a natural allowance, you see that you're never wrong, but you're also never right. You're never constantly required to look at yourself through certain spectrums, through polarities, through worlds made by other men. That is one way you can do it, You can just say, I'm a man and that's it, I got limitations of a man. You could just do that. Or you could explore how your mind works. Because the last time I checked, no person was the same. And in a sense, what I mean by that is where we are right now, an opportunity for existence to explore itself self-consciously, with self-awareness. I mean, become aware of this, that I don't want to say animals don't have this, but they don't have it in the same apparatus as us. So our apparatus is allowing us to acknowledge more of ourselves. I want you to think of the ocean wanting to experience itself. It can't. The ocean, in its fulfillment, will never have the excitement of individual movement. But it holds many individuals which are having individual moments. So you see, even collective consciousnesses, even your sense of flow, guidance, intuition, are all a communication to you to show you that you are the communication. You are the communication of all those things you thought you had to do before you became something. If you have emotional registration where your thoughts cannot continue. So what that means is, let's say every time the word, I don't know, orange comes, right? I react to it. Now imagine someone's trying to explain to me an orange sunset, and you see every time the person says orange, I'm suddenly, oh, I don't like orange, I don't like orange. This is not true, by the way, but for the purpose of this example, you see that we have certain depths of certain words and ideas because we've had an experience that has made those words relevant to us. So for example, if you know you're a fighter when you have found yourself in that moment where the action of fighting was being done, because that's how you took in the moment. So in a sense, look at how when you walk, you're stepping, right? You don't care about the past steps. You don't care about what happened in your past because you're constantly walking to a new experience of space and time, right? A new experience of your own sense of space and time, you know? And you're constantly walking. And when you walk, you see all you need is a very good amount of awareness of the walker, and also the sense that the walker is not leaving anything behind, because those last footsteps are not my new footsteps. So I should not try to bring my collective unknown aspects and dull them down in a linearization that will never be true, because it's non-linear. And in a sense, it's kind of like saying it might be hard for a liquid state of being to, you know, explain things to a solid state of being. And you see, it's very hard for a gas state of being to explain to a liquid state of being. But at the same time, the way life works is that it takes the fastest route to the fastest opening of the greater view. So in other words, your sense of vision expansion throughout your reality is inspiring you to innately know things instantly rather than being trapped in realities that have a lag. The lag is self-induced because that's how your conditioning was. The first step on a staircase has nothing to do with the last step. Only that you need to cross it before you can get to the last step. You see that some experiences you cannot ignore. Some things attracting you, you cannot ignore, but to allow yourself to go through properly. And allowing yourself to go through these things properly means that there's no you that is allowing you. Because if you were to let you allow you to do something, you would never do it because your past experience of it was bad, perhaps. So you see, stop trying to think linearly about something that doesn't even work in that way. And we can see a resemblance of a non-linear movement and a linear movement when two beings do not have the same reality, when there are dimensions. And let me tell you, dimensions begin with disagreements and agreements. So the fact that we have even different intensities in our universe is because different forms of beingnesses, I guess in a sense I could say greater bodies of collective being, are communicating in that way. Once that communication changes, think of how lightning could be the beautiful glitch in the system. It could be that communication going wrong. And so, what does a body do? Think about it this way. When you are a whole body, and what I mean by that is, let's say there's a sense of connectivity that is within all beings. That omniscience of God where many people have spoken. And we see that the way the whole ability of the whole body can be presented is by the cell communicating as well as it can to the body. Do you know? We don't want to be giving unauthentic signals because it's not bad for the universe. The universe continues. It's bad for us because it limits us. So sometimes when you hit someone, you are suddenly walking into the cage of someone who hits people. Do you understand this? So you need to become aware of these, and even though if you have hit even yourself in the head, let's say, you will see that the best way of approaching how your attention is aware of what is memorable and your sense of now is to stop basing it based on completely the past. You must understand that some parts of it you will base as a combination of experiences you will have. So in other words, the way time and space is segmented to us is not completely showing us the authentic experiential relationship that is there, the natural experiential relationship that is there in the conception of the moment, the spark of the origin, you know? And you find that through different methods, but actually the methods are in the way your life has been designed. So in other words, we have one branch of martial arts that their style of fighting is much different than another school. There are different schools of martial arts. So similarly, we see, regardless of what one master says, even though they have unique designs, similarly, when we look at a being's life from a collective view, we see the beauty of their design because we have seen how their individuality has turned into a collective allowance for themselves to experience life. You see, you save people really when you really give them a mirror. Because if you say things, you are putting imagery there before they have become aware of themselves, unless you are trying to shake people. So if you no longer care, you're taking the wild man approach and you're just speaking with a loudness that roars on its own. But guys, eventually what I'm saying is that when you become aware of life, it shifts your experiential beingness. What that means is you will see that space and time will no longer be the same because your remembrance is altering how the present should manifest in a sense which your individuality observes at first. See, we are not sensitive. Imagine me walking right now, okay? Now imagine me thinking about me walking. So I have this whole picture of here in my mind and I'm walking in there too, okay? Now imagine that I stop walking, but the picture in my mind doesn't. And you see a difference there in how the nature of the mind needs to be calmed down. It's like you don't just need to make your bed in the morning. You also need to adjust your sensitivity. So what I mean by that is once you do meditation, or as I just naturally sat down and just started feeling what I am as a being, in that I realized that my whole system is trying to get rid of my problems naturally. You see, to be in a solidified and agitated state when your nature is gas is ridiculous. So even we're not satisfied by liquid, even though you might feel enlightened, we want you to absorb your life experience in greater ways. And what that means is that your separations can only be broken by your hand, because it was your hand of acceptance that chose to naturally, as our brains work, to receive that information. So if I look at your face, I cannot, even if I close my eyes, I've seen your face. Do you see this? So when we understand the ability that we are given when we observe our sense of thinker and object of thinking, we are absorbed into dimensions where it's as if the way we had reality shaped begins to fade because the foundations begin to break. So I would acknowledge a lot of people to not just study the voices of their generation, but to also study the voices of generations before them. Because you will see, once you're that person who has in your field of interest, in your sense of purpose, suddenly read all the things about for example, something about in the past. In other words, you go and see all your idols and all those people that are creating the knowledge in your past, and you see after you have acknowledged the past, you've acknowledged the present. There is a point where the mind looks at itself to see that it was never there. That moment is unspeakable and does not need to be communicated. Because what happens within your reality is your adjustment of sensitivity. Because a lot of people don't trust their thoughts, and that is why they're not happy. Because you do not have trust in where you are. It's as if that person walking in thought, Mr.Within, he saw that he wasn't even the image that he was comfortable with. You need to be aware of how your mind is being aware of things, and you see it can only encompass all there is. So every certainty you have about a formula or about anything is based on separations that have satisfied that separation. But when you look at it collectively, the intelligence is not one that can think the same. So I'm pretty sure there have been many people who have been trained to be extreme calculators, and that is amazing. But if it is not embraced through a holistic view, there would be arrogant individuals who feel as if they're going in life and they're not seeing what is there. What is there is you. And you are you. These are not letters, by the way. But you are you. And what that means is that on some level that you don't need to explain to any other human being, you know who you are, so be comfortable with your knowing. But also understand that you don't consciously know this knowing, even though you know of its presence. So, you know where the party is at, but you're not there completely. Now, you see, why aren't you there? Because there is a certain involvement that life wants from you, which is your calling. And what that means is that if I'm suddenly in a place where I see someone in an emergency, I will immediately act the moment I just get a feeling, even beforehand, We need to be sensitive to our thoughts because they are teaching us how our intelligence works as we become aware of them formlessly. As we become aware of information, we are no longer informed. And so a man who's not informed does not need to carry knowledge, carry books, carry money, carry bodies of different densities. He simply needs to know that as an essence of being, his sense of transcendence comes from his inner knowing that he can always put away the toy and still have a good time. The nature of your being is transparent, and that is why you're free. You will feel yourself in different ranges of your creative expression, opening up to different ways that your thoughts are flowing, different speeds that your thoughts are flowing, and it's as if you're not just excited, life is also getting excited for you. When life gets excited for you, you begin to see that instead of always thinking you're a robot taking step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, you're actually someone who is, through his awareness, omnipresent, because it is your reality which your presence is originating from. So omnipresence is simply when nothing is explaining everything. And you will feel it. You will see that, wow, there's so many ways, guys, for us to get off the plane of language. Do you know what I mean? And what I mean, I guess, let me explain this better. Language is a food that has helped us survive. But we are not hungry for just what language has to offer. In other words, guys, if you're eating the same meal, the same ideas, the same routine, without having a new experience of that even same routine, you're letting go of a reality which freedom is being defined by circumstance. Imprisonment is very different for who you are physically and who you are mentally. Mentally, you cannot be imprisoned, but you can be a person who has not explored enough. Because the excitement of the explorer will get him through the door either way. If you become excited in your life, if you see all your memories and moments have been providing you the greatest value of your next moment, you will see that your step will just be in the unknown. You see that the human being at first thinks he wants knowledge in the sense that he wants to know more. But no, you don't want to know more in the sense that you are an individual and trying to collect a lot of stuff. Because if you are in a limited state of being, regardless, you're not touching the limitless. So a limitless state of being is one that allows himself to be comfortable in first what he knows, then what he does not know, to then seeing that intelligence is another dimension irrelevant to any shape or language. Existential intelligence is suddenly that knowing that you know what to do because you are it. It's as if you have been given the memory before it becomes memorable, simply because your imagination had created. So therefore, if the wheels of a car are spinning, the vehicle is being driven on a dimension that is the originator of the space and time. So imagine having the excitement of first being on the roller coaster as a person, then being the designer of the roller coaster, who created the roller coaster, who's now on the roller coaster enjoying it. So having that level of excitement as someone who began the project, and also seeing the excitement of knowing nothing. There is an unknown excitement. There is a playfulness that comes in your mind that you see by keeping more unknown elements in your life. You're allowing your mind to grow more. So because you're allowing your attention to fluctuate and to not be just focused on one idea. Genius is you recognizing the beauty in us. And with that, you see that every branch of knowledge has its own design, but it is your design that is allowing it to even merge. So man is perhaps the first station for life to experience itself in modalities of doubt unique to how our planet is designed or how this sector of the universe is shaped naturally. So I am the first person giving this talk ever. But the talk was always there. Do you see what I mean? It's as if the drop at first thinks that there is no ocean, and how could there be an ocean? There's only like the drop thinks at first a bird's gonna come and drink it, you know, or something. But actually you see that the drop is not dropped without a plan. You see that the clouds brought down the rain. They provided it as a natural phenomenon. So when you ask too many questions, you see that it comes to the purpose of the purpose of the purpose of the purpose which you cannot see. So just know that it's all purposeful. I want you to see that the mind of man finds itself more able where it has gotten a real experience of incapability. So a being who is first convinced by how physical reality works, that feels on some level that they are keeping covers over an unknown sense of a greater knowing. How can I say this? There are times throughout your life where you look at something and you see that you know exactly what to do, even though you haven't taken the first step to get even close to what you want to do, you know? Knowing is man's blending with his environment to a degree that the environment could never make man wrong, to the degree that neither was the man a man and the environment the environment, but in the emergence of mergence, you will see that the drop will begin remembering that it is suddenly blending into a stream. And suddenly the stream is having more direction. You start suddenly feel moving. You suddenly feel ecstatic states and your higher bodies. And you see suddenly the drop is in the stream and now it's found the river and there is a rush. It is as if like not even we are going to that party. Everything is, every element in life is transcending, evolving to its most greatest peak where it cannot see but can always move towards because it emanates from there. The light of the sun existentially has provided the potential for the seed to sprout. It gives it. So we see that nature is a given. So before our problem manifests into a shape where we can call it a problem, how did that progression from a natural, blissful, collective, harmonious being suddenly turn into Bob who can't pay the bills and he's about to lose his job? You need to see this and see that they don't have to be different. Wake up in the morning, not just pulling over the blinds, but looking at new ideas, looking at brilliant ideas. A habit I have is that I wake up and I observe very interesting ideas, and these ideas come to me. Guys, the process of reading can even enlighten you. So don't think that you need to do it. It's just a moment. It's a combination of moments in which your remembrance is activated to show you a greater beingness in which your limited experience no longer is convinced to be limited. Guys, you are constantly a limited and limitless communication of self. And that is perhaps a very tangible and very easy statement to define as the experiencer. Or to, in a sense, show that it is the experiencer. That the knowing of the experiencer is in such a dynamic flux that your thoughts are not being limited to the same experience of location and distance. I've had moments where I've sat down and suddenly there has been winds. It's as if like a wind, like naturally a wind comes, just a wind of a flux of ideas where it's as if in what you felt was 10 minutes of, what you felt was perhaps like 30 minutes of just constant conversation and shaping of your imagination in new ways is actually, for example, 10 minutes of your space, of your time, you know? Actually, you will see that there are times you will be aware of yourself where your mind can be nothing but mindless. And what I said before, guys, in regards to the experience of time and space, this is subjective to you and to the memories you have. Not even to, it's subject to how you're aware of things. And every person is looking at the mountain from a different point of the mountain. We're not at the same point. It is very rare for beings to be at the same point unless they're at the peak. So I want to tell you that as these drops continue, and as you begin getting the sense of remembrance, you begin seeing that the vision of the ocean is being remembered because you have been there before. Once you see that you don't need to limit yourself from the knowing of, how would I say, the knowing of before your birth and after your death, you see that it's as similar to how, when you learn something and you look at your past, you have more awareness of it. You see that this manifestation of you is within, is an emanation that is more able than your other senses of individuality, because it is the newest sense of individuality. So the new person rarely sees that he is the excitement of his sense of entrance, of him joining the environment, Novelty is the nature of emptiness, and that is why it's empty. There is, in an instant, there is. No,
it's okay. I was just hoping my wife was
there is no reason to be caught in reasoning. There's no reason. Literally, there is no reason. What's the reason of not reasoning? So you see, it's all in the abstraction that collective or groups of people have come in terms of agreement with. We are right now acknowledging some things which are not agreed by various ranges of people, because sometimes you get a unique idea that you haven't even communicated. Sometimes you're that singer who's written a song that nobody's heard. Once you receive any act of creation which you do, suddenly let's say you create something. It could be how you fold towels, to how you cook, to how you fight on the battlefield, to how you read, to how you do anything. Once you become aware of the actor, your consciousness is joining with more drops to then bring you a greater remembrance. So you see those beings who tell you they were just these mighty beings who they knew who they were, is because their life experiences shaped them and put them immediately in the river. Because they were their purpose was to be part of the expression of a greater purpose. Once you see that, you no longer have problems with any senses of self, but you begin having problem with even a sense of self. And it's not a problem because there's nothing to think about. A lot of people think that through meditation or through this stuff, through self-observance and self-remembrance, that they're thinking too much and it bothers them. No. How you go into it is important, because if you don't access your greatest ability to confront yourself, you will not in a sense see the growth that you're in a sense meant here to do. You need to follow the things that you do not know now, in the sense that they will become the excitement that will give you the knowing. Do not close your eyes when you never could. Much blessings and namaste.